Gene, you're pretty comfortable, it sounds like, with what's going on in Nvidia's growth, even though it is slower than what we've seen in the past. Are you concerned, though, about where policy is going in regarding Nvidia's access to China?
The simple answer is not concerned about policy. I think that that's going to kind of right itself in the next few weeks. Within their January quarter, they're going to see a big return in their China business that's, of course, not factored into the street estimates. My concern around China is more structural long-term, is that the Wall Street Journal this morning is reporting that Alibaba now is coming out with a new inference chip. Of course, we've heard Chinese leadership cautioning not to buy some of the H20s after what have been perceived as some insulting comments from the White House in terms of the types and the caliber of chips that they're being allowed to buy. All this in the background of what is clearly the most important topic for nations is where their position is within AI. And so when I think about the China opportunity, I believe that it's a huge opportunity for Nvidia over the next year, 2 years. But I think that it's going to be increasingly competitive with the likes of Huawei, with the likes of Alibaba. Interestingly, that new Alibaba chip is reportedly able to work with the CUDA, which is the essentially the operating system around NVIDIA's chips. That's kind of part of the fabric that holds that very intense tech economy together for NVIDIA. And so the simple answer is this, is that it's going to get a lot better for NVIDIA related to China. I think if you take the perspective of 5 years from now, China doesn't want to be held accountable to owning U.S. chips, and Chinese leadership is making big investments. So it's going to get more competitive there longer term. Doesn't change how I feel about the AI trade. If anything, it actually makes me more confident about it. But I think that's the kind of the scope and the trajectory around China.
When it comes to China and U.S. policy, the CFO had this to say regarding that 15% that the U.S. government says that Nvidia has to give back to the government for the export license. I don't have to do this 15% until I see something that is a true regulatory document. So is it your understanding that basically the H20s can go to China right now and Nvidia doesn't have to legally give the U.S. government the 15% the president said he had a handshake deal on?
It's my understanding that the licenses actually haven't been issued. Jen-Hsun made a comment about the timing of when those licenses are going to be issued. I think that separately, they still don't have clarity from the White House around the 15%. Why that matters for NVIDIA investors is it's still unclear about how that they're going to account for that 15% revenue share, and separately how they're going to think about potential price increases to offset that. And so that piece, as you are appropriately pointing out, kind of an important vector. And I think when you kind of put this whole mix together, I just want to take a step forward into what is going on with NVIDIA here. The stock is trading off after a very favorable quarter and what, in my estimation, was a better than expected guide. And I think part of that is related to some of the uncertainties that you talked about, timing of these licenses, timing of the revenue share. There's another piece that kind of vectors into this, which is NVIDIA's businesses, because China is getting a little bit smaller, is increasingly dominated by several companies. The top two account for just under 40% of revenue. I estimate the top six are 60%. And so there's this China and customer concentration that is a derivative of the China conversation. And so it gets quite complicated. And I just take the approach, at Deepwater, we take the approach of what's actually happening, what's the bigger picture, what's going on. And ultimately, we still think we are very early, second inning in AI. 3 months ago, I had said we're in the third inning. And so I think we're actually earlier than what, as this is progressing. So really important to understand what's going on with these licenses and how the U.S. government, but ultimately the bigger picture is what's happening with AI demand over the long haul.
Well, and what's happening with return on investment here, Gene, because we're looking at trillions of dollars spent to build up this infrastructure. You are one of the most famous tech analysts out there, and you've been through it all, right? You were there for the dot-com bubble burst when everybody was spending way more than they needed to, laying fiber for the money that they made in the years following. Are we seeing something similar play out now?
I think the big difference, first of all, is this return on investment question is valid because just the massive amount that's being spent. The best example of this, of course, is what's happened with Meta's business, is that this is a business that was growing kind of in the mid-teens. They push more for better targeting with AI, and now you're having a business that's consistently growing in the basically 20% range, their advertising business. I mean, remarkable at scale how AI is impacting Meta. So from my perspective, is just that one piece alone, I think, is a good evidence. One is, I think back about what happened 25 years ago. There was a piece that we knew that the internet was going to be something big. There's a lot of commonalities. I think that when it comes to what's going on with AI right now, I think that you do have examples of what's going on with Meta about real, tens of billions of dollars of incremental revenue because of this, which we didn't see back in .com. I do want to just add one connection point to what happened 25 years ago and where we're at today too, is there's this kind of ongoing conversation about the bubble. Where are we at? Are we in a bubble? We're not in a bubble. Looking back 25 years ago. And ultimately, we're not in a bubble. We will get to a bubble. I think that the market still has a couple more years to run here, and it's going to be a big bursting of the bubble at that point.